and we could manage the situation. 40 years fast forward, I think we have allowed the problems to overwhelm us. Now, what makes youth employment very important is the fact that, you see, our leadership, academia, corporate world, politicians, do not even seem to have a good grasp and understanding of the situation, let alone to prescribe useful and far-reaching interventions to be able to resolve the problem. Typical example, I remember at the last session that was held here in the House, a lot of people were very concerned about youth unemployment, and I shared a few statistics with them. I told them that a research that we undertook, just showed that every year this country has about 50,000 graduates coming from our polytechnics and universities, tertiary institutions. Now, out of this 50,000, the formal sector, here you're looking at government jobs, corporate Ghana, you could even include the private sector, are only able to provide enough to cater for 5% of the youth who graduate from our tertiary institutions. What is 5% of 50,000? Somebody tell me. 2,500. So you ask yourself, the 47,500 who are not able to find jobs on the formal job market, where do they go to? Or what happens to them? And this is not just, a happenstance or a one-off thing. It tells you that year in, year out, this is the problem that we are going to have. So the question for me is, given that government has instituted measures, you may call it piecemeal, because sincerely, look, government's table is awash with a lot of problems that demand solutions. So government cannot really take, some positive action with a single focus only for youth employment. Like it or not, that is what it is. Government instituted NYEP some 5-6 years ago. To date, NYEP has only been able to create what? Some 150,000 jobs. And you ask yourself, is that enough to accommodate the pressure from young people on the job market for jobs every year? So sincerely, it is extremely important that as young people, we make this particular problem a heartbeat. Because if we don't do it, nobody will do it for us. We also have to recognize the fact that government alone, will only be able to contribute a drop to the ocean. We have to look at it as an individual and collective responsibility to see how best we can use our personal experiences, our natural talents, knowledge that we acquire to be able to contribute somewhat, to addressing youth unemployment. Because sincerely, look at all of us here today. If all of us are able to conceive one idea that we are passionate about, and decide to give it a single purpose, and bring it to fruition, and this idea is able to employ just one person or two people, how many people would we have taken off the unemployment, landscape? This is the reality, and we really need to look at it in that perspective and be more serious and conscious, about creating employment to address the problem. Sadly enough, you know what is happening? Where we sit in this country and take it for granted as if Ghana is a piece of island with no opportunities. You get other people, due to globalization, coming into this country in droves to take advantage of the very opportunities that we have and overlook because we don't find the necessity or the compelling reason to be able to do it. If you doubt me, speak to any travel agent today, and he will tell you that the number of flights that are coming to Ghana, I think over the past 3 years, have increased from 14 to about 27 or 30, if I'm not mistaken. Domestic flights used to be 2, but today they've been increased to 5. Tell me, are Ghanaians able to pay for these services? It should tell you that the opportunities that we have but take for granted are the very opportunities that are attracting people to come into this country. So when we get opportunities like this, let's be heartbeat about how we can harness our conversations and our interactions to target it at that problem of youth, of creating employment for the youth. At this juncture, it is just to rekindle your interest, so we ask some more questions. More questions, please. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, let's take. We should announce it that they will take at least 1 or 2 questions overall, because there are a few.
We're giving credit to go and search the name. People don't use it. I like searching, so I go.
I've seen quite a number of plans, so let's take.
So I want to encourage us that wherever you are, whatever you are given, you need to do this already. Now, most of my colleagues are not going around, going to computer things for the certificate. While on labor campus, you just need 3 months to go. Then by the time you finish, you are giving yourself, and it's University of Ghana, and wherever you think will be relevant. And secondly, entrepreneurship skills. I always tell my colleagues as well, we are in a generation where you don't have to set too much information. Information is all around us. There is an information age. Let us make use of it. Let's employ ourselves. We can ask one of our students talk about teenagers. If you are coming out of school and you are in an accounting class, and all of you are good, why not come out and form a group of us?
It's also by school, dodology now for you. So when you came to school, you went to do dodology. It's not going to do accounting and finance. So I've always been an advocate that we shouldn't underrate any job. That is why the cleaning jobs are there. Nobody's going for it because we just say, they are missing accounting, meaning what people are watching. What we saying? You see, please, let's look around us. We are in a generation where our parents thought that the lawyers and then the accountants were taking the day. So everybody's going to accounting. Everybody's going to law. Me, I like reading. So from the word go, I went to school and they started going to I said, no. We have been then, even our teachers are also the main factor. When you can't go to school with 6 months, they say that go and do science, go and do business. All I want to read. When you go to University of Ghana and you get a good grade, they'll tell you go to business school. I don't want to do accounting. I want to do sociology or linguistics. So why force me to an area I don't want to? So please, don't let us underrate any of the things. That is my main thing. And I'm underrating that is what we are talking. Wrong people, square person, round holes. People are doing nursing because of money. At the end of the day, who are not taking and also, we are reading your way.
Instead of fighting with our minds, we are fighting with the gun. So we need to find out the value of our mind. What goes in or that? These are some of the things I want to, one thing that I want to stress on, that what comes out from our mouth as young people, we are saying tolerance. Fine, but I will go down and use the word understanding. I believe you share with me that you may not love somebody, but when you understand him, you can live at peace with the person. And if that is the situation, I want each and everyone to spell the word silent and spell the word listening. These 2 words, 6-letter words, S here, T here, you match is the same. The meaning that I was deriving from that is that the youth of today, like a professor was saying, we have deviated from some of the cultural practices we're going through. We don't keep silent, so we are unable to listen. When you are silent, you are able to listen. I'm talking about the words that come from your mouth. And when you listen, we are quick to talk. And if you don't take time, you talk something that's not meaningful. That is where you need to understand. They may be speaking Ewe. You don't understand Ewe. They are talking about their father. You talk about their mother. What is the link? So if the issue being discussed, you don't understand, you can't take it. So if we are able to understand each other and getting the understanding, you pause and do the thinking. And when the thinking comes in, that is where you can speak and speak wisdom. So I am concentrating on what goes into our mind, because if there's war in my mind, nobody will see it until I have spoken it or have acted. So before you act, and before you speak, and before you do anything, let us know that we need to take these things into consideration, particularly understanding.
Thank you very much. So the two books and well, thanks.
Going to do about that too. You know, think about this. Identify something that you can do, and you say you do it for free. If you're able to think about things that you do and you do for free because you enjoy them, it's a point of reflection that I want to leave with you. And I say to everybody that life is not about what happens, it's about what you do with what happens. Your circumstances must not dictate your actions. Actually, you must conclude by telling yourself that the power resides with you. Whatever you do is within your control, and you must act now. Affirmative action or nothing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I think it's interesting to listen to relatively younger people identifying the ideas and coming up with ideas, and also trying to identify opportunities and acknowledging that there are opportunities around. And what we are not doing is that we are probably not getting the support, and that we are also probably not taking the initiatives by doing things for ourselves. It's quite interesting. I think that that's a challenge to all of you here and all of us, for those of us who are in position to bring to bear some kind of influence on policies as far as employment is concerned. And I'd like to say that with a young man, Uncle Fred, he's not here, who I think he touched on the comparison I made with the incubators in China. I think the reason why I said that was that I think that China has quite a number of incubators. And I'm saying that one of the bases for China developing so rapidly is because they have invested in such initiatives. Able to establish only one so far, and that one only houses about 16, and not all of them are also residents. Some are actually virtual tenants. Then I think that we are not doing well enough. And we have identified that it's because the ideas people are bringing is not innovative enough. That's why I'm saying that let us dream and then come up with ideas, and then the support will be there. The last thing I'd like to say is that, indeed, if you have nothing to live for, you live your life anyhow. So let us try, add value to our lives, and then we'll think twice if anybody tries to engage you in something that has a tendency to curtail your life. Thank you.
The employment situation. You see, we are all talking about self-employment, being an entrepreneur, but we all cannot be entrepreneurs. I think that the state has a duty to also provide jobs. You see, there's this problem. I don't know if you've monitored the system, especially in the science bias areas. Always, you hear the hospitals for instance, the hospitals coming out to say that they lack doctors, they lack nurses, they lack people in the hospital. But when you go to our universities, we have a chunk of our graduates coming out with humanities. I mean, coming out from the humanity areas. I think we are missing the demand and supply factor here. We need a lot of people in the science bias areas, and that is where our focus should be, and that is where the state comes in. When there's an incentive, people shy away from even reading science. I'm telling you, people shy away from reading science. You get to the universities, and in a grade class you have 20, but when you go to the social sciences, you have about 100 and 200 students in there. Because people are not interested in reading agriculture. But if you have a state that is interested in some of these areas, and they are able to provide that added incentives, that needed incentive to our young ones, our fresh entrants into our universities, I'm sure they would also develop that interest in the science bias areas. And then this issue about unemployment will not arise. My brother talked about an opportunity for young minds to come together and dialogue. This time, with the emergence of this social media and all those, there are a lot of groups on Facebook. I would urge him to look for the Youth Economic Dialogue. That's where one area where we do some serious thinking there, and we've got some friends in the media who pick up the information from our platform, and it's discussed, and I think we are making a headway. Moving ahead, I would just give this simple advice to our young people. As we approach 2012 elections, please, it should be about issues and not insults. Let us not glorify anybody, any young person, any politician who sits on radio and insults. Let us not allow ourselves to be used as instruments of violence. And I hope when we do that, Ghana will develop and will be very prosperous.